You heard about Elizabethton and Johnson City. Give you a little bit more here on Tri-City Sports Now breakdown of those games. The hero, I guess, of the Elizabethton Twins victory against Bristol, and the Pirates are bad. At least they are in the first week of the season. They need some call-ups from the Gulf Coast League or something real fast. They're 1-6. And that's the worst record in the Appalachian League. Elizabethton, usually who has the best record in the Appalachian League, not Bristol. Bristol's never, since they've been with the Pirates. When was the last time Bristol was really, I guess when they were at the Tigers, they were, Anyway, I think the White Sox did play for the Appy League title once in the previous decade. I remember that. I remember there was a sports writer who decided he didn't like me at the time. Is not here anymore. Not that there aren't local sports writers that don't like me, but anyway, just got unfortunately. But what was his name? Scott Bryan. He went out to be. Told me he was the future of journalism, and I think he went to become an editor in Greenwood, South Carolina. So, and now where is he? Florida somewhere. But yes, the future of journalism is covering the meatpacking plant of the Carolina Pride facility in Greenwood, South Carolina, evidently. So, there you go. Spencer Steer was the hero of the Elizabethton Twins victory. And Steer was somebody who I think Ray Smith had mentioned, we're going to get some high draft choices here. Don't expect these guys to stick around, which I found to be very interesting because if any team would figure to have their players stick around in the Appalachian League, it would be the Elizabethton Twins, since the leap from Elizabethton is straight to the Midwest League, full season A. There's no short season A. There's no Pioneer League. So Elizabethton is weighted higher, as I mentioned this. And we also had Dan Mouchon, new president of the Appalachian League, said, Danville does that as well. But that's one of the reasons why the Twins always win. Also, they seem to draft pretty well. And Spencer Steer, who is a third-round pick of this year's baseball draft coming out of Oregon, he's a quack, quack, quack duck. He had a leadoff home run in the bottom of the first inning, and then made a wonderful catch to end the game, thus giving the Twins their 6-5 victory over the struggling Pirates. So 4-3 was the final there. 6-5, was the final there. And Elizabethton now one game over 500 a week into play, whereas in the same amount of games, Bristol only 1-6, as I mentioned. Cardinals are doing this thing where they're falling behind by a lot of runs and then coming back to win. I mentioned on Saturday they were down 8-0. They came back to win 14-9. They were down, if you can believe this, by 6 runs. They came back to win on 18 hits by the score. They were down 6-3. They allowed 6 runs in the second inning. To the Greenville Reds at Pioneer Park. And then they came back to win with 11 unanswered runs. So it wasn't 6-0, it was 6-3. Forgive me, I read the box score wrong. 14-6 the final. Say what you will. Anyway. Chandler Redmond with a home run in the first inning, by the way, helped the Cardinals get those 3 runs. So, there you have it. Also, and by the way, Redmond came out of Garner Webb, only a 32nd round pick in the Cardinals draft. But that was his first pro home run, and it made the score 3-0, like I said. Jose Moreno got bombed for the Cardinals. That may be unfortunate because it's easy to remember a name like Jose Moreno. I'll try to get you some more Appalachian League information as the show goes on. But a lot of that is based on how the world's slowest computer reacts, because right now I'm having difficulty operating. It doesn't want to come on up with other pages and all this sort of stuff. So we'll see what we can do in trying to get audio highlights and the like on the world's slowest computer. Hockey Hall of Fame was announced yesterday. There were some surprises. There was one, up in Newark, they're crying bloody murder. But here's the class, if you remember or know these guys here. The big star, they said, it was introduced by Lanny McDonald. Remember Lanny McDonald used to play for the Calgary Flames? Still has his big mustache. It's just a little more gray. It's not as red as it was. But he's the chairman of the Hockey Hall of Fame. Who knew that? Anybody been to the Hockey Hall of Fame? I have. It's a wonderful place. It is built in a bank which is connected to a shopping mall. So imagine you are going into a department store in a shopping mall. That's what one of the entrances is like in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I mean, it's like nothing you've ever seen. And then right there, heart of, I don't know if it's downtown Toronto, forgive me, I'm not, I've been to Toronto once, so I don't know the neighborhoods and all, but in an urban center of Toronto, if it's not downtown, okay, on the side of a corner, old bank, that's what they've merged shopping mall and bank together for the Hockey Hall of Fame up there in Toronto. And what makes that really neat is you've got the old rings on the Stanley Cup from like when the Montreal Maroons won the Stanley Cup, and all those players and all that. They've got those rings in the bank vault. And they let you go into the bank vault and you get to read who won the Stanley Cup, for the Detroit Red Wings in 1936. That's what it's like nothing else. It really is. I mean, I've been to Cooperstown. I've been to Canton. I was once a part of the Canton display. That's another story for another time. I've been to the College Football Hall of Fame when it was in South Bend. I really liked it. But a Hockey Hall of Fame is very unique in that regard. They're all unique. But yeah, how many are in a bank and a shopping mall? And somehow it adds to its appeal. While you're looking at Bobby Hull's Whalers jersey and all of that. Anyway, they announced their Hockey Hall of Fame class. Hockey Hall of Fame, though, they do something, you usually have to wait 5 years after your retirement. Hockey Hall of Fame, they say 3. I'm not sure that's not the way to go. The other thing is if you're really good, they say, Mario Lemieux, you're in. Forget about it. You're in. Give me a break. You're in. Now, what that also meant is by waiting 3 years instead of 5, I remember when Guy Lafleur, the Flower, made his comeback after he was in the Hockey Hall of Fame. I remember once, I forget who it was, maybe it was Leo DeRocher or Bill Veeck or an old-time baseball man who once said, and this is going to be ironic, why isn't Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame as he plays? It'd be great to come out, see a great veteran like him and say, there's a Hall of Famer. He's in it right now. Well, later we learned. And so now we see what the flaw is on that. That being said, you have this situation where you could have that occur with a Guy Lafleur, with a Mario Lemieux, guys who came back and then after they were enshrined in the Hockey Hall of Fame. That is kind of cool. Here's who's in the Hockey Hall of Fame right now. To begin with, the one that's gotten a lot of attention is Hayley Wickenheiser. Now, she used to be the goalie for the U.S. women's team, and she won 3 gold medals for them. And she's the one that seems to be getting a lot of the attention. Also, Olympic gold medal winner Sergei Zubov. Nobody ever quarterbacked the power play in the history of hockey better than Sergei Zubov. Sergei Zubov, in the mid-90s, played 1 year for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They hit on 39%, more than 39% of their power play goals. Usually you figured you're doing great guns if you're at 25. They almost were at hitting 400. Okay, he went on to the Stars, won a Stanley Cup there, all that. Guy Carbonneau, also making it. Another Czech hockey star, as was Zubov Vaclav, and I hope I pronounced this right, Nedomansky, but also 2 pioneers, Jim Rutherford, who is a general manager of the Carolina Hurricanes, won a Stanley Cup, and then, as a general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins, most recently won the Stanley Cup in 2016 and 2017 when the Pens beat the Predators. Jerry York also in there. Now, let me just tell you about, first of all, Wickenheiser. 79 international games. She played 21 years. Had 58 goals, 88 assists, 146 points in 79 games. You play, 80 games in a hockey season in the NHL? Imagine you got 146 games. Now imagine you did it all against international competition. Think about that. 4 Olympic gold medals, 7 World Championship golds, 1 Olympic silver, 6 World Championship silvers. 7th woman to go in the hall, along with Angela James, Geraldine Healy, Danielle Goyette, Jana Hefford, and Americans Cami Granato, Tony Granado's sister. You remember what she did back, I think it was 98 for the American women's team, and Angelo Ruggiero. I'm surprised Manon Rhéaume was not in there. Remember when Rhéaume, and we may not remember, but Rhéaume is the only woman to play in an NHL game, to my knowledge. Now, it was an exhibition game, but she started for the Tampa Bay Lightning back in the 90s, and did, as I recall very well, in net. And, yeah, I mean, it's just, so many people think of Manon Rhéaume as the female goalie for that. I am very surprised that she didn't make it, or has not made it. I'm sure I can't imagine that she won't. Laney McDonald, the old Calgary Flames, said, when you win 7 world championships as one of the key players and captain, you win 4 Olympic gold medals as the skater Wickenheiser have a storied career on both the women's side and play on the men's side in Finland. Yeah. That should tell you in itself where she was looked upon and revered by the rest of the hockey world. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, this is what the Hall of Fame is for. It's to teach you about these players. That's why when I go, say, to the, Pro Football Hall of Fame, my thing isn't necessarily, okay, I mean, when will Peyton Manning get in? Of course, I want to learn about Wilbur Pete Henry or somebody like that, or Guy Chamberlain. I mean, that's who I want to learn about. That's what I think the Hall of Fame is for, and for that matter, someone like Wickenheiser didn't play in the NHL, but certainly excelled as one of the great female hockey players ever. There you go. By the way, she actually was invited to the Flyers training camp in '98 after the Nagano Olympics, and she is currently Assistant Director of Player Development for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but she didn't make any comments. You know why? She was studying for the final exams at medical school. You heard me. That's quite a person right there. I'm sure she'll have a good speech in Toronto. I'll tell you who else about the Hockey Hall of Fame after this.